lot easier. So I brought this over, and notice how when I pasted it, it pasted it right into the center. So what I want to do here is it brought over some of the white background from the image. I don't want that. So I'm going to delete that, and we have a tool that allows me to delete that, and it's called the Magic Eraser tool. Magic Eraser tool. And we have a variety of tools over here. I'm going to hold down my mouse on the eraser tool. I want to choose the Magic Eraser tool. It allows me to basically go in and select an area based on color and delete it. So it's doing like two steps in one within one. Because I would take my magic wand, I would select the white, and then I'd press my delete key. Well, the Magic Eraser does both. So watch what happens. Now notice I get a little bit in on the right hand side down here. I went into a little bit too far. So I'm going to do an undo, edit, undo. And I'm going to go up to the options bar up here at the top. I'm going to change the tolerance. I want to bring it down a little bit because it just took too much. So I'm going to go down to 22. So if you find that it deleted too much of an area, go down in tolerance. And notice it did not take that one chunk of area over here on the right hand side. So again, I'm just bringing the image over, I'm making a change. I've gone in and I renamed the layer. Now, after I rename it, and maybe I want to work with the other images. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring out the eyeballs. I'm going to click on the eyeballs for these different layers. And as you can see here, we automatically, it's going to reveal those layers, and notice how it's hiding part of the photograph that we brought over because of the stacking order. So the shell layer is at the top, so it's going to be over top of everything else when you're looking straight on top of the image. The photograph is right above the background, but it's below everything else. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold down my mouse on the photo layer. I want to drag it straight up, and so you notice there's a little line that comes up between shell and letter. I'm going to release, and when I release, I have just rearranged my stacking order. So I can go up, down, by just holding down my mouse and dragging the layer to the position I need it to be. So here, all we're doing is we're trying to learn some different techniques of working with the layers panel. So once we bring it over, we might determine that we do not want it in that location because of the stacking order, because we can't see it. So what you're going to do is you're going to take that layer and just drag it up or down to the position that you need it to be. Now I'm going to click on the paper texture layer, and you got to remember when you're working with layers, you have to click on the layer that you want to edit. You need to click on the layer that you need to edit, because if you don't, it's going to affect only the layer that you're on that's active. And notice I know it's an active layer because notice it highlights in blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change a property of this layer, and it's going to affect every part of the image on that layer. I'm going to go up here to opacity, and I'm going to change the opacity slider to 50%. And what it's doing is it's making that image transparent. And what I mean by transparent, you're seeing through. You're seeing through the image. So when I'm looking at this, I'm going to hide the other images by clicking on the eyeball. Notice I can see through this paper texture. I can see the background come through. So all I'm doing here is changing one set of properties, and that happens to be the opacity. Another set of properties that kind of adds the special effects to it is the blending modes, and it's where it says normal. Notice what happens when I tell it to blend with the background by changing the blending mode to luminosity. Notice how it changes to a blue color, so it took the brown, blends it with the background, says it sees all this blue and brings it out. So it does a great job of blending back and forth. So when you're working on a layer, you do have these different properties that affects just the layer that you're on. So when I click on these other layers to reveal them, it's not affecting those layers. So we can change the opacity, we can change the modes, which is, you know, a variety of things you can do. And we can do other things which we're going to see here in the next, with our next steps.